Thanks for coming and thanks for the opportunity to share with you what CardiaCare is doing. So my name is Amos Ziv. I'm from Israel and I'm the founder and chief scientific officer of CardiaCare. It's the world's first wearable that treats patients. I'll say it again. It actually treats patients with non-invasive nerve stimulation on your wrist to reduce arrhythmias, more specifically cardiac arrhythmias, atrial fibrillation, which is the world's most common cardiac arrhythmia. So atrial fibrillation is, as I said, the most common cardiac arrhythmia. It affects more than 35 million people worldwide, projected to be 70 million around 2050, with about 1 million new patients each year. It's a progressive disorder that actually starts with initial bouts that come and go, but then progress into these permanent episodes of fib, which you need to get to the hospital and get cardioverted, which is an electrical shock to the chest. And then if that doesn't work, they go into a procedure called ablation and often ends up at what's called persistent or permanent atrial fibrillation. It's a disease that actually increases the risk of stroke and heart failure and overall death. And the economic burden on the system is enormous, amounting to about $10 billion a year. So current standard of care involve medications, both antiarrhythmic drugs and blood-thinning drugs to prevent stroke. The medications work initially, they stop working over time, and they have a lot of side effects. Next, we move into the procedure. The first procedure is called cardioversion, which I just mentioned. Success rates of cardioversions are low. So within 1 year, 80% of patients have relapses of AF episodes. And then ablation, which is the gold standard and blockbuster procedure for this condition, have excellent success rates in the first year, let's say 70 to 80%. Some physicians have 90%. But overall, over time, after 5 years, the overall success rates and failure rates actually are close to 50% with ablation therapy. And the patients suffer from symptoms, debilitating symptoms like palpitations, chest pain, anxiety, fatigue, often lightheadedness, and sometimes fainting. So this presents the opportunity for CardiaCare to come in as an adjuvant to standard of care. Again, we're not here to replace standard of care. We're here to add, since standard of care is lacking optimal efficacy. So imagine a wearable that actually treats patients at home non-invasively, and I'll explain in a minute how we do that. A wearable that will decrease hospitalizations, decrease procedures, and over time improve patients' quality of life, which is the most important thing. This is why we're all here. So this is exactly what we've done in CardiaCare. It's the world's first non-invasive, drug-free neuromodulation, nerve stimulation wearable that actually treats these patients at home, but also monitors them. We deploy optical sensors and ECG sensors here on the wrist, and in a closed-loop manner where we actually analyze AF, precursors of upcoming AF episodes. We alert the system, the patient, and the physician, and we treat these patients both to prevent upcoming event and also prophylactically for preventing episodes. It's the only management tool that actually is a complete management tool that actually treats these patients. So a lot of companies actually monitor patients, but no one's delivering therapy. So how does this work? We're deploying something which is called vagus nerve stimulation. The vagus nerve is a big nerve that actually controls the autonomic nervous system, which controls heart rate and rhythm. Now, vagal nerve stimulation has been shown the ability to reduce arrhythmias and specifically AF, and some invasive procedures and some invasive technologies and some non-invasive. So ear stimulation, which has a branch of the vagus nerve, has been shown to reduce fib, direct vagal nerve external stimulation at the neck. We're deploying a novel approach from the wrist. We're targeting a nerve which is called the median nerve, which is very close to the surface right here, and you can reach that nerve with these electrodes that we have on the device. So we've been able to show that in both animal models and in human studies, which I'll share with you in a minute. And again, the whole idea is to control the autonomic nervous system so it doesn't go into these hyperdrive situations, which are called excess sympathetic or excess parasympathetic, which are triggers of atrial fibrillation. So we monitor patients, we affect the brain in a specific area called the NTS medulla, and then we regulate cardiovascular function to reduce atrial fibrillation burden instance. We've completed successfully a first-in-human study. This was a 10-patient study done in Israel in a medical center called Sheba. These were patients that actually arrived to the ER with a fib. They were cardioverted back to normal rhythm, and then received our device for 8 weeks of home care, both monitoring and therapy. We've been able to show in this initial small cohort study, again, this was designed just as a usability, feasibility, and safety study, with even in the small cohort of 10 patients, we've been able to show very interesting efficacy. So reduction in AF recurrence rates over 8 weeks of almost 50%. And interestingly, also acute reduction in precursors of AF, which are called PACs, or premature atrial beats, which precede AF. Again, almost 60%. We're seeing both acute reductions within the neuromodulation session, meaning when a patient is connected to a hospital monitor, you see these PACs. I'll show you the ECGs in a minute. As you treat them, within 25 minutes, you see the reductions of these precursors, which then, as I said, reduce the chance of getting AF. Seen both acute responses, which you can see on the left-hand side. These are numbers of premature beats before and right after treatments with our measured with our device, and then verified with a 24-hour gold standard Holter monitor at the beginning of the study versus the end of the study. So this was a small study. I'll tell you about the studies that we have going on these days. Overall, safety profile was excellent. None of these patients had severe adverse events. None of them came back to the hospital over the 8-week period. And in terms of compliance, the patients love our device. We're getting 80 to 90, more than 95% compliance on both monitoring aspects and treatment efficacy. And again, this is real-world population. Average age here was 64 years old. So we deployed 2 types of treatments. You can see on the left-hand side on the bullets, a predetermined treatment dose. So you'll get, let's say, 3 neuromodulation sessions a week. By the way, we don't continuously stimulate. These are short treatments of around 20 minutes. And in addition, whenever our system picks up these precursors of AF, we give you additional acute treatments. So this is an example of a case study. A patient with 6% atrial fibrillation burden, which was measured by 2-week Zio patch. It's an ECG patch that they wear for 2 weeks. 6% may not sound a lot, but it is. It's like an average of an hour and a half of fib a day, which is a lot. So we track the patient's ECGs. You can see the report. This is a report from our device. Physicians love it. The signal is excellent. We can see the P wave, which is what you're looking for in the average QRX beat. We analyze the ECGs on our data, cloud data with our AI algorithms to detect AF or precursors of AF. We alert either the physician, and the studies we're alerting the physicians with a text message and an email where they get the report. In the future, this is going to be done with a call center, and we already run a pilot for that. And then we deliver these therapeutic treatments. Overall, in this case, you can see a reduction of 50% for this patient, again, down to 3%. And this was only done in 8 weeks. We believe that longer follow-up, which is what we're doing in these studies, will see even better efficacy, more than 3% reduction, 50% reduction. This is what it looks like on an ECG. On the left-hand side, you can see an ECG with these blue circles. That's those premature atrial beats. You can see on the right-hand side, 20 minutes afterwards, they're completely gone. For this patient, you can see 100% reduction. We don't always get 100%. We get anything from 50% to 100%, but in this case, you can see 100% reductions in these precursors of AF. We have granted patents on the engineering aspects, the hardware aspects of the device. We have granted patents on methods for nerve stimulation, and we have pending provisionals on the algorithm, neuromodulation algorithms and procedural outcomes, and additional provisionals on some additional stealth indications. Currently, in terms of reimbursement and go-to-market, we're exploring 2 possible avenues already have been shown for non-invasive nerve stimulation. The first one is called DME, or Durable Medical Path, with device sales over a period of 13 months, amounting almost to $3,800. Again, there's comparables for this. And also, we will be utilizing existing CPT codes of remote patient monitoring, or even more, remote patient therapeutic codes, which actually allow access to the physician to look at results of therapy. And another option that we're looking at is the pharmacy benefit. Pharmacy benefit allows a rental model, not a sales model, where actually these patients will rent the device. This goes anywhere from $125 a month. Again, there are comparables that have shown this in a couple of companies. So we've completed our first in-human clinical study. We're halfway through the study in Israel and also soon to commence here in the US at Mass General at the early paroxysmal population. And we've recently received, just 2 weeks ago, approval from FDA to run an additional study on additional post-procedural stealth indication, which I can't elaborate a lot on. CardiaCare so far has raised $5.1 million out of the 4.2 in dilutive, out of the 900 in grants and also service licensing agreements. Last round was in July, 2.1 million, with a post-money valuation of 12 million. And it will be kicking off in a round to, we'll be targeting to completing an A round of around 10 to 15 million around December this year, which should take us all the way up to FDA clearance of our first indication on Q1 26. We have a very strong team, both from the regulatory, both from the clinical perspective, KOLs, leading KOLs in the clinical world, also industry experts, multiple experts behind this slide, more than 7. So again, a very strong team. And that's it. We're CardiaCare and we're saving lives one heartbeat at a time. I'd be happy to see you if you have any questions.